Hey folks, welcome to this yoga practice with me. My name is Helen Roscoe. In this practice today, I'm going to share with you some of the insights from my latest retreat at Llanberis Retreats. The first session that we explored together on this retreat was all about arriving. When we come to our yoga mat to practice, at the very beginning of that experience, there is an opportunity for us to arrive, for us to get a sense of what we are bringing, what we are arriving with, so that we can notice the shifts as we go through the practice. So we're going to start on the back of the body. I'm going to be including some somatic practices within this session. Somatic practices are a great way for you to release tension, for you to come to presence and to prepare for postures and explorations that we would know more so within the context of yoga. So we're going to come down onto the back of the body when you're ready. In terms of props, you might like to have a folded blanket here for your head. And if you're feeling a little bit chilly, I would also put a blanket over your body as well. So as you come down into rest, into the supine position, just really take your time to arrive onto the back of your body. So you're coming down very, very gently. When your shoulders come down, I'd like you to bring your hands to the back of your head so that eventually you're just labeling that head to come down gently onto your support. And then any little shuffles, any wriggles here that you're going to take, this is your opportunity to arrive in the here and now. And just noticing what happens in your body in order for that to occur. So the little shuffles, the little yawns, some little squeezes, just take your time to arrive. There might be a few breaths here as well that you'd like to take, sighing the breath out gently with each exhalation. And that's a beautiful way to arrive in your breath, just noticing how that sigh brings with it that sense of letting go, of settling. So when we're arriving here at the beginning of the practice, we're relating the experience to the physical sensations that we come across in the body. So notice what parts of you meet the ground more fully. It might be useful to start at the feet and with your knees bent, just tracking along the back of your legs up into your pelvis, just pausing at the pelvis as you rest your awareness there. Notice the pelvis settling. And then bring your awareness along the spine, noticing the parts of your spine that are contacting the earth. The shoulder blades broadening away from one another as that space between the shoulders flattens and widens. The arms can be away from your body, or you might prefer to place them on your tummy or somewhere on your body where you have that felt experience through touch. And then bringing your awareness along the back of your neck to the space behind your skull, resting the back of your head on the ground. With your feet a little wider than hip distance, I'd like you to drop your knees in towards one another, coming into constructive rest. And just take a few moments here to pause, to notice how you feel. There's that sense of arriving here and now. Here I am, resting on the ground, the earth supporting me. Just noticing sensations in your body. Maybe a little wriggle of the fingertips. And I'd like you to begin to gently move your jaw a little from side to side. Moving that jaw gently one way, moving it the other way. Opening the mouth, just releasing effort and tension there in your face and your jaw. The tongue from the top of your mouth. And then when you feel drawn to, have a little shrug of the shoulders up toward your ears. And with a sigh, exhale them away from yourself, down to the earth. And you can take that a few times, little squeeze of the shoulders, breathing in. And on the exhalation, moving them back and down. Let's do that again. Inhale, the shoulders come up. Exhale, the shoulders come down and down and down and down. Bringing your awareness to your breath, just noticing the breath in at the nostrils, the tip and the nose. Breath is cool to touch. On the exhalation, the breath is warmer. The breath exits the body back out through the nostrils. And you're starting to notice the rhythm of your breath, the smoothness of your breath. The exchange from the air on the outside to the inside and then back out again as you exhale. Rubbing your palms together in front of you, generating some heat here. Keep rubbing those palms together until you feel there is a warmth between your hands. And then you can place your hands on your tummy and arrive with your breath here. As you inhale, the belly rises. As you exhale, the belly falls. Stay with your unique rhythm of breath in and out, rising and falling. Noticing any sensations here. There might be some little gurgles in your tummy as you move towards that rest and digest. Down tone in the nervous system. And from here, just invite your head to roll a little one way as you breathe out. Roll it back to center as you breathe in. Exhale and roll the other way. And just taking this movement gently across your neck and your shoulders with your head rolling. Allow this to be your arrival point in movement and breath. What happens when we coordinate breath and movement is awareness, presence, moving away from the branches of the mind, coming closer to a sense of focus and self-awareness. And just noticing what you come across, even here, even in the very small moments, moving your head a little from side to side. Arriving is noticing. Arriving is pausing, settling, just allowing yourself to undo, to feel. When you're ready, bring your head back to center. Just let those knees come away from one another a little. And I'd like you to slide one leg out away from you. Just pause, let it rest there. And then slide your other leg away from you and let it rest out there. So if you feel this is uncomfortable for your back in any way, then you might like to keep those knees bent or support them by placing a cushion underneath your knees. So let your arms move away. We're going to do a little bit of a squeeze and release here. So on the in-breath, a little squeeze into the body, the hands, the feet, the bottom, maybe the face, the tummy, and as you exhale, let it go. So on the in-breath, gather it into yourself, this sense of tension coming into yourself, and then let it go. Let go as you breathe out. Arrive in that moment of letting go. And then breathe in. Know what it is to feel tense, to feel contracted. And then know what it is to let that go. And we'll try that once more. And then from here, just a gentle roll of the feet, a circling of the feet. And you could do the same thing with your hands as well, just starting with the edges, arrive at the feet, arrive at the hands, circling. There's no fixed instruction here as to what you can do. It's more about exploration and feeling. So circling our way through those ankle joints, through the wrist joints, and just seeing what feels useful. Imagine a little step, walking, sliding one foot away from you and then the other foot away from you. And what tends to happen is when my left leg lengthens away, my head rolls a little to the right. So it just wakes up the side body a little, inviting this pandiculation that moves along from the foot all the way to the top of the head. You could imagine that step flexing the feet, see what it's like to flex the feet, and then see what it's like to point the feet as well. Just go through that a few times at your own pace. Another sigh of the breath. Let's bring those knees back up to point towards the sky, feet on the floor, a comfortable distance from your bottom, not too close, just enough for you to be able to feel the soles of your feet, but not so much that you feel your hamstrings are kicking in or your core or your back is feeling strained in any way to try and support this movement. So we're going to come to a tilt, rippling the pelvis forwards on the breath in, and then rolling the pelvis back on the breath out. And exploring this gently at your own pace. And practices like this at the start of a retreat can be a great way to slow down and to simply arrive at this starting point of gentle movement, bringing us into our day, bringing us into the weekend, bringing us into the feeling of the retreat, and just really allowing any stresses of the week, any worries, any tensions, just to be set aside. So tilting pelvis forwards, the lower back arcs on the in-breath, exhale, rolling pelvis back, the lower back flattens. It can be useful to have your hands on your hip bones here just to experience the movement of the pelvis through touch. And then also to have a sense of what's happening with your head as well. So as the pelvis tilts forward, the head is pulled down. As your pelvis rolls back, the head is pushed up. So that connection between tailbone all the way to crown of head along the spine. Come back to your starting point when you're ready. Just take a few moments there to observe. A little sigh of the breath. Okay, let's take those hands up above you. So what I'd like you to do is circle those wrists above you. And again, this can be in any way that feels comfortable, that feels useful for you. Imagine pushing the ceiling away, extending through the shoulder blades, and then you could try that movement in the opposite direction, drawing the fingertips towards you, externally rotating inwardly and outwardly, and allowing your elbows to follow the movement. Any tension that's building in your face or your jaw, just really invite that to soften. Then we can take a hold of our wrists or the elbows, and we're going to take the arms back towards the space just around the forehead. And as you do that, I'd like you to tilt your pelvis forwards so that arc comes back in. And then bring the elbows around and down towards the navel and roll the pelvis under. So we're going to take the elbows out to the side and up on the in-breath. My head is rolling with me, pelvis tilts forwards. And on the out-breath, then we are bringing those elbows down and the pelvis rolls under. So take your time to explore moving around with the shoulders, with the elbows, guiding that movement across your rib cage, your thoracic spine. And then see how your lower back and your pelvis joins in with the movement. So you're not necessarily making this happen, it's just happening because of the movement of the upper body creates space then for your pelvis to tilt forwards and backwards, especially as we take the arms overhead. Then that space arrives in the lower back, pelvis tilts, and then as we bring the elbows forwards as a natural coming in, rolling back, and we can explore that direction in the opposite way. These more nuanced movements, just freeing up that tension around the shoulder girdle, around the rib cage, keeping that pelvis moving. See what's happening with your feet as well. It can be useful just to bring your awareness down to the feet and just see what role they play in this. And your head isn't fixed, so let your head go with you. And exploring this pattern a few more times in this direction until you are ready to pause that inquiry, which might not be for a little while yet. So take your time to come back to something that feels more neutral when you're ready. Notice how you feel. So we're going to bring those knees in over the tummy. Just bring the hands behind the backs of your knees. And very, very gently waving your feet one way and then the other way. So as your feet wave a little to one side, there's this little C curve in the spine as your head rolls with the side that your pelvis is moving towards. You might notice then, so feet go to the left, pelvis wiggles to the left, head rolls to the left. And what happens on the right side is there is a little opening, a little space. So then from this kind of slower pace, this really movement that you're taking here, this slow motion wiggle, I'd like you to explore a different pace. So those feet start to wiggle a little more vigorously from side to side. And often when I'm teaching this, I go round and I sort of set people off with the little wriggle, because it's not always an intuitive movement. It's not something that we might come to naturally, especially when we're moving slowly, as we often do in our yoga practice. So see how this frees up around the pelvis, the shoulders, but also your head is moving. So it's not just your feet, your knees and your pelvis that are affected here. So even my elbows are wriggling. A little sigh. And it can be useful to explore a different rhythm. It wakes us up. It helps us to arrive in a different way. So we're just going to pause that for a moment, and then with the hands just loosely around the hamstrings, just start to swap your feet over. So we are kind of flicking the feet up to the sky. And this is a much quicker pace than we've done so far. And it can be useful to go between something that is quicker to something that is slower. So when you've done it a few rounds, then you could always come back to the breath. Inhale, take one leg up to the sky. Exhale, bend the knee. And when you've done that more slowly for a few rounds, then you can let go of that breath movement pattern and go again with the flicks. And just mixing up your movement pattern there. and your pace. Kind of feel more awake all of a sudden. Okay, so just let those knees rest in over you for a moment. Pause. So then what I'm going to invite you to do is just bring your feet to the floor. And we're going to take something a little more traditional in terms of breath, movement, and coordination. So when you're ready, settling back into your breath pattern, on the inhale, take the arms up and over to the space above you. On the exhale, bring your knees over your tummy and lower your arms back down again. On your in-breath, take your feet up to the sky, the arms go overhead. Exhale, take your feet out apart from one another. Inhale, bring them back together. Exhale, bring the knees in, bring the hands to the shins, lift up your head, have a little squeeze. And then inhale, bring the feet down to the ground. Exhale, bring the knees in, lower the arms down. So we're going to go through this rhythm. Feet go up, arms go overhead. Exhale, feet move out to the side. Inhale, they come back. Exhale, a little squeeze in. Breath in, a little more open shape. Breath out, gathering into yourself. Breath in as your feet go up, a little more active. Exhale, even still active as your feet go away from one another. Coming back on the breath in, and then finally having that little squeeze there in your body to round in on yourself. So let's try that pattern once more at your own pace. And when you complete the round, just let your feet come down, arms away from your body, back into constructive rest. Take a few moments here to observe, to arrive once again. Notice how you feel. So taking your arms out to a Y shape, your feet wide apart, feet are mat distance. We're going to move those knees from side to side, like a Z leg shape. So as you exhale, rolling over the feet, the knees go to one side. As they go to that side, you can peek over your opposite shoulder. Breathe in, roll back onto the feet, your knees point up to the sky. On your exhale, roll to your other side, and again, just peeking over your shoulder there as you roll. Inhale, coming back. So I'd like you to move through that pattern at your own pace, just opening out into that Z-leg shape, side body awareness. This is our most expansive shape so far in our arriving practice. So notice what it is to arrive here. Spiraling, arcing, extending the opposite arm that your knees are moving away from, coming back. So having that little reach on the diagonal fascial line from one side across the psoas, across the armpit, and then up along the arm to the fingertips, to the periphery, to the edges. And just let yourself move through that practice, again at your own pace. Finding that rhythm once again. So every time you establish a new rhythm, a new pattern, is a chance to arrive. Call to presence. I'd like you to return to that first side, and then gently, as you inhale, bring the knees up a little. As you exhale, let them come down a little. So on the in-breath, they're up. On the out-breath, they're down. And just moving a little deeper into that psoas, across from the armpit, across the rib cage, kind of wrapping around the pelvis, making its way over to the inner thighs, coming back to center on the breath in, exhale to the other side. So sort of a slow motion pulse. Taking a breath in, the knees lift a little on the exhale, the knees come down a little. And just exploring that smaller range of movement. There's almost a sort of little squeeze, a pandiculation within the shape. Coming down on the exhale, inhale to come up. So we're going to come back on the round that you're on. Just let the knees drop in, give yourself a hug. Hands come to your rib cage, and I'd like you just to have a little roll here from side to side. Okay, so just for our final point of arrival before we bring a close to this practice, I'd like you to come and rest over onto one side. You come over to your right side. Use that blanket to raise your head a little. Just let your bottom arm be free there in front of you. And we're going to send the top leg out along the ground as if you're standing on it. Just let that foot become active there, pressing a little through the foot. And then waving your arm overhead, inviting a stretch along the whole side of the body. Finding a position for that hand. Maybe it's going to be on the palm of the hand. Maybe you'd prefer to wrap around the head. And just taking a few breaths here. Noticing that quality of space across the side of your body. Maybe reaching a little once you're a little more comfortable there through the fingertips. Invite the softness on the exhalations. Expansion on the in-breath. And then bring the knees in together. Come over onto your side, onto your back. Just have a little hug there for a moment or two. And then finding yourself over onto your other side. So you want to cushion the head. Extending your top leg along the floor. Your bottom knee is bent. Active through the foot there, taking your top arm overhead, and again just finding a position for that arm to rest. If this is uncomfortable for you in any way, then I recommend just finding a position. The hand might be in front of you, you might have it resting on your side, and just focus on the length coming along the side waist without that extra stretch coming through the armpits and along the rib cage to the fingertips. And a breath or two here, just focusing on that quality of space as you breathe in, and on the exhalations, the quality of softening, finding the ground. And then bring the knees in to meet you. Come over onto the back of your body once again. Any support that you have under your head, just fixing that back in place. Knees together, feet apart, hands resting on your belly. And take a few moments here to arrive once again. Noticing your breath in. Noticing your breath out. What am I arriving with? What am I letting go? You're welcome to stay here for a little longer. This might lead you into another practice. And if you feel ready to return to your day, just see what it takes
to gather yourself back into that sense of arriving in a more upright position. See what you need to do to come back into your day and do so with a sense of care. Thank you.